Hello, I am Wallace, the Polish toy guy, and today I welcome you to my review of Transformers Beast Wars Deluxe Class Predacon Tarantulas from 1996, exactly 22 years ago. Let's take a look at this very nostalgic and, in my opinion, still very fun Transformer. What would the modern generation call this? Oh, the feels, I think. I really like this toy. Both because it represents one of the more fun characters in the Beast Wars cartoon, the mad scientist of Predacons, and because this was my very first Deluxe class toy from that series. And I think I can also appreciate the fact that, unlike modern times, Beast Wars was one of the Transformers series where there was a single toy per single character, maybe sometimes a few more, but usually you talked about a character, you knew what toy it was attached to. Tarantulas had two main toys, this one and an upgrade, as well as few recolors, but still, for me, this is the one toy that I think about when I say Tarantulas. And as the name implies, he transforms into a spider. What kind of spider? I have no precise idea. I'm no specialist in topics of animals, and also I don't think this is designed to be any specific type of spider, especially a tarantula. Still, it looks cool, even if I can't tell the species. It has a very nice translucent violet body with these yellow marks, some green bits. The details on this are cool. This kind of reminds me of the moon surface or some golf balls, but still it's quite nice. We have translucent eyes of the spider, all 9 of them. I'm not even sure if that's accurate, but still, they look cool. And also, this has this kind of smoke translucent feel to it. It just looks cool. And also, again, translucent plastic over here, with yellow paint, with this very conspicuous missile sticking out of the tarantulas, well, but more markings. On the bottom we can see, yes, of course, a robot in disguise, but what I really like about this mode also, the presence is greatly enhanced by the presence of these 8 legs. They are thin, but fairly detailed, and they just make this toy a lot bigger optically, so when you put it on the ground, it just looks a lot bigger than the majority of Deluxes from that series. And one quite fun thing about Tarantulas is that despite being one of the first toys from Beast Wars coming from the very first wave, it can do more in Beast Mode than just look nice, as it was the case with the majority of other Deluxe classes. In this mode, Tarantulas can utilize his robot mode weapon to a certain degree. You press on this button we saw earlier, and it fires up, or cobbles up, Spider's web with a grappling hook of sorts. I don't know how to call it, but yes, you can make him deploy web, and as it is with wall crawlers, he can attach himself to walls. And that looks really cool, even though you probably have to make some adjustments to make the impression even better. Still, this is the very first toy I'm reviewing that actually made me use my secondary backdrop attachment points. Usually I use the ones that are somewhere over here. So now I know it was a good idea to place them there in the first place. Thanks, Tarantulas. Also, a quick question to people who actually owned this toy in the past or maybe still own it today. How many of you use this to scare a relative with a spider suddenly appearing above your relative's head? I know I did at least once. Good times. Now, about nitpicks. If I have any, it's that I'm not really always happy with how this line is visible. There's no place for you to tuck it permanently, so it just has to hang around either under the spider or somewhere over here. I was especially irritated by this as a kid. I sometimes wanted to remove this missile permanently, and with that attached both to the toy and to the missile. That was hard, and I didn't have proper knitting skills to actually reattach it should I decide to cut this off. So I suppose you just have to accept this little decoration and the fact that with time it will probably get dirty, yellow. It was originally white. But as an adult, I admit I'm happy that this connection exists, because I'm pretty sure that as a kid I would at least several times had the opportunity to lose this and then cry over this part endlessly. And now it's time for beast mode comparisons. So let's start with two modern toys from Titan's Return. Here we have Deluxe Mindwipe and Deluxe Wolfwire, aka Weird Wolf. And for something movie-esque, here we have Deluxe Slug and Scorn from Age of Extinction. And from Beast Wars itself, here we have Ultra Class Optimus Primal. And with that said, it's time to transform Tarantulas into his robot mode. And if I ever decide to create a separate how to transform video for this guy, I probably shouldn't call it how to terrorize. Because how to terrorize your toy, well, that sounds a bit odd, I guess, in modern times. Anyway, transforming Tarantulas is not very hard. In fact, it's quite simple, which I appreciate. First, let's go to his bottom and turn him around, where we will get our hands on his soon-to-be feet and extend them with his thighs, and this will pop off all the time because it's hard to keep your finger off the trigger. Let's keep it there for the time being, and in the meantime we can straighten out his foot and straighten out his other leg and also deploy his foot. The legs are done. Now let's get our hands on these mandibles, shall we say, and use these green parts and unplug them from these little posts. Very easy. Hi Tarantulas. And now we can separate his head from his butt. Bend the head slightly to make room for it to go over this piece. And as we pull this down, we pull the head back up and we squeeze everything together. We do what we want with the spider legs and we do what we want with these forearms, though I prefer to keep them rotated like this. So I'm doing that, and I can also return this missile to where it, shall we say, belongs. And that makes the transformation sequence for Tarantulas completed. And this looks really awesome. This is optically big. It's kind of intimidating even for a transforming toy. It just looks cool on the shelf even 22 years after it was released. Though I suppose for some of you this configuration may be too space consuming, so if you want to compress this toy just slightly, you can use the posability of the front legs and put them over here. So you have this option, and usually I also prefer this configuration, especially when I put Tarantulas on the shelf. This looks cool. This is fully acceptable in robot mode. It just depends on your preferences, but for now let's compress this and we're going to talk about this soon. Again, really nice looking robot mode, very clean as you can see. Light eating also, but quite nice to look at. On the back there's no junk. And we have some hind leg details. They are nice, but still, yes, we've seen all of this in spider mode, but it kind of fits the robot mode. And this new chest made out of spider head is also really cool. Not many details over here, though this kind of looks cool. Some sort of, well, this reminds me of grasshopper legs for some reason. Really nice. Not many details over here, though. Yes, these details are really awesome. And we have the head, which I admit I'm always a bit puzzled because, like many first generation toys from Beast Wars, Tarantulas has two head configurations, the main robot head and the beast mutant head, and I'm never sure which one is which, because if you raise his head on this separate hinge over here, we have another face, which is also quite cool, but to me it's less intimidating. I think this is actually supposed to be his main robot head, but the show one is clearly based on this one, and this is also the one I prefer. So yes, you have the option to give him this look, if you want to make him slightly more friendly, I suppose, but I really like this look much better. And also, let's talk about this, because I know some of you may have different opinion on this. In the show, I think the hands were more like this, like the spider configuration, and we also have a weapon pot over here. But considering that the elbow and the ball joint work better like this, I prefer to keep my forearms like this. So again, a matter of preference, but nothing to fight over in my opinion. Each path is good as the other one. So yeah, in terms of looks, this toy is really awesome no matter how you display it. So this is a great achievement for Hasbro, or should I say Kenner at the time. And in terms of, shall we say, visualities, this toy is really fantastic. And for its times, it's also not bad in the movement area. As we've seen already, the head is on a ball joint, which gives Tarantulas a nice rock to the sides option, as well as looking down into his, well, whatever he's hiding in there, and also looking slightly up, which can be further enhanced by going halfway with the other face. So that's nice. And of course we can do 360, so spider exorcist, fully possible if you so choose. And in terms of arms, when he's not disarmed, he has very nice range of motion in the arms thanks to another ball joint, as well as nice move to the side. And he has bending knees if you choose this way to be displayed, which also acts as bicep. And you can also move this around if you so choose. We have also ball joints for his hips, so he has a very nice kick forward. Kick back depends on whether this is present or not. It's decent if it's not there, but I prefer to keep it there, so for now I have to say goodbye to that option. And we also have a full split available, so that's nice. And for the transformation we also have a very good movement in the knees. And you can just slightly angle this, like this, like this. It helps the posability and posing him, but I wouldn't call it something spectacular. Still, for its age, I think the posability on Tarantulas is quite nice. And now let's talk robot gimmicks, and like many early Beast Wars Deluxe class toys, Tarantulas has two weapon options, well, maybe three a bit, but the main two, yes, those that are actually shown in the instructions, both relate to this missile launcher stored in his back, which we've already seen deploying the web, shall we say, line. And yes, let's address this right now. This is extremely annoying when handling this toy. As you've seen multiple times over my review of Robot Mode, this keeps popping up because you can't help but simply gently squeeze the trigger when you're grabbing Tarantulas' back. So this goes off constantly. It's really annoying. You distract yourself with trying to put this back in place, especially that it has only a single way that it will go inside. It's really annoying. Also, this line sticking between his legs, not all that appealing, so like I said, sometimes I'm happy that this is here and sometimes I curse it. Pretty much depends on what I'm doing with the toy at the time. Still, for the time being, let's deploy it on purpose this time to remove the missile launcher, and inside we have some nice robotic details. Very nice paint. And let's look at the missile launcher, which is also quite nice. Has some weapon details and also a trigger, so we can put it in Tarantulas' hand, either on this side or on this side. I prefer this side. And now we can reattach it over here, making sure that the cutout on this piece matches the cutout in the weapon. I think it goes like that. Hooray for that. And now he has a nice sort of crossbone missile launcher thing. It looks cool, I admit. It looks quite cool. You can pose it in some nice ways if you have the time to actually fiddle with it. so it's not bad. And if you want, you can also enhance it a bit with this sort of third option that I mentioned. We can move the spider legs, the ones that actually move, to the front to replicate one of Tarantulas' attacks from the show, where he used all 8 limbs as rapid-firing machine guns, which I suppose you could somehow compare to CIWS, I suppose. Maximal did not like being treated to this weapon, and sadly only 4 of the legs can do this. But I suppose if Tarantulas gets a masterpiece treatment, which is probably sooner or later going to happen, all 8 will be able to move like that, which is cool. And also related to the second official weapon use, you can actually rip these off like that. And if you look carefully, they also have the same cutout as the main missile, so you can rip them off and use them as secondary type of ammo, which on some levels looks a bit better. It kind of looks like a heavier type of gun right now, so that's nice. And combined with all of these pointing forward, you can create sort of like self-contained Rambo mode for Tarantulas, even if it's asymmetrical because one leg is missing, but still you have the option if you so choose. By default, I choose to put it back in place and reattach the original bow missile. It just makes the whole thing look slightly better thanks to the returned symmetry. Also, one more reason that I prefer using the string ball missile over the leg missiles is that constantly popping them off and back on is not very healthy for the leg side of the joints. If you do it too much, you risk that the thin plastic at the base of this joint will start to shatter, rip apart a bit, like it happened in the case of at least one of my legs. So the more you do it, the easier it is for these legs to spontaneously self-detach, and if you are not paying attention at the time, you may risk losing them because you can't find them on the floor or wherever you are playing your Tarantulas with. And with that said, it's time to start robot mode comparisons. So this time around, let's start with some other Beast Wars figures. The recently reviewed Ultra Class Megatron, and I hope soon to be reviewed Deluxe Class Waspinator. And for movie toys, here we have 2 Deluxe Bumblebees. This one is from Dark of the Moon. This one is from Studio Series. And finally, here we have Armada Cyclonus, as well as animated Black Arachnia, both in their respective deluxe classes. And finally, for real-life objects, here we have the $1 bill and the common cola can. To sum it all up, Transformers Beast Wars Deluxe Class Predacon Tarantulas has aged really well, and 22 years later, this is still a very cool looking and fun to play with toy. Though I admit, yes, the looks are especially amazing to me in both modes. The possibility is quite nice, and the weapons are also quite nice, despite the fact that the spring-loaded feature with the string, it just doesn't add up, especially when you store the weapon on the back, where the trigger is easily accessible, even if you do not intend to access it. But this is a small complaint compared to everything else that this toy does well. So if you are a Beast Wars fan, a fan of toys that transform into animals or especially spiders, I think Tarantulas is a worthy toy to look at and own. And that's all for this video review. I will be back with the next one soon, and until then, stay well. Polish Toy Guy signing out.